Welcome to the Inspire Me podcast. My name is Leonie Lamb. I am a career coach, corporate trainer, and speaker. And today we have Leonie Stanfield with us, and she's also a career coach, corporate trainer, and speaker. How are you, Leonie?
I'm going really well, Leonie.
Yes, so as you can see, we both have the same name and we both work in the same industry. So I will introduce Leonie's background in a moment, but I just wanted to start by talking about the podcast, what we'll cover in this podcast. So essentially what we'll be talking about is finding your purpose, job motivation, and why it's all really important to really think about your purpose, job motivation, and how does that impact your career. So we both will be sharing some examples and strategies of how to work it all out. So stay tuned, and it will be a conversation between Leonie and I, where she'll ask me questions and I'll ask her questions. But before we begin, I'd like to just quickly mention her background, how we know each other, so you can see the connection between us before we get right into it. So, Leonie, how long have we known each other?
I'm guessing about 10 years or so, probably, maybe even
Yes,
longer.
it definitely has been more than 10 years. So one of the ways that we connect all the time on a regular basis is that Leonie and I are part of a small mastermind group with Heidi Winnie, and we three of us, we meet regularly to catch up as friends, as coaches, and learn from each other. And so I turn to you as well, Leonie, when I get stuck in my career, in my business. It's really a real pleasure to have you here today with everyone. And if you're listening for the first time, we have our other podcasts that we've published together. So feel free to go back and have a look. Definitely the one on how to get a government job. That went very well. But in terms of her business, Leonie has been in her business for 10 years as of last year. And her business is called Career Talk. And she's a career talk specialist, career counselor, coach, trainer, and speaker. And she's also part of the National Executive Committee of CDAA, which is a professional association for career coaches. She's the vice president for the organization. So excited to have you here, Leonie.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It's always good.
Is there anything else you'd like to add around your background?
No, that's fine. I have quite a diverse background, but particularly in the not-for-profit sector, and coach kind of widely. So it'll be interesting to have a conversation with you today.
Thank you. Well, let's get started, shall we?
I'm going to ask the first question. And so as we think about this and the idea of purpose, Leonie, why do you think it is important to actually know your purpose? And for you, how did you work it out?
In terms of why it's important to know your purpose, I think in life, if we just think about it for a second, when you're driving to a destination, it's good to know where you're going. So it's important to sort of know what's the destination. So in terms of your career or your life purpose, I certainly think that it's a very difficult question to answer. And some people may not know the answer to this question after maybe, after they're in their 20s or 30s or before they work it out. But it is, if you can work it out early in life, it does save a lot of time and energy instead of trying this job, trying that job, trying so many different things. And then eventually you do work it out. But if you know it earlier, then that would be unreal. And so I think it's important to know where you are going in order for you to make sure you make the right moves to get to that destination. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's so important to be able to have a direction. Yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
yes. And how did I work it out? It was hard. I certainly read a lot of books in my early 20s, or personal development books, and two books that really inspired me. One book was called Awaken the Giant Within by Anthony Robbins.
Mm.
And in that book, there's this one chapter, and he asked the question, what is your purpose? What is your purpose? What is your purpose? And, stop the car and write down what is your purpose. So it really made me think deeply about answering that question. And the other book that I strongly recommend everyone to read is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People,
Yeah.
Stephen Covey. And that book, in that chapter, as you know, Leonie, there's a chapter on begin with the end in mind.
Yeah.
And that chapter, when I read it, it blew me away. It really made me think about it's about that the end of my life. If you had 4 people who would actually talk about you, what do you want them to say? And so really thinking about the end goal, that was what how I worked out what my purpose was.
That's great. Not always easy, as you say, to do that, but I love the dedication and the persistence to kind of be looking for that. That's great. I'm wondering about your business and how purpose comes in. So what's your purpose for your business?
Yes. So to begin with, after the self-exploration, answering that question from reading those books, personally, it was to help people. I really wanted to help people. And then I thought, how can I do this in my career? How can I really, truly make that impact? So in my business, you've been in business for 10 years, and last year was 15 years for myself. So for me, it was all around, how can I help my clients see who they are, really understand who they are, really connect with their purpose. Why are they here? What do they want to do in terms of making an impact in the workplace, in an organization? Working with my clients to help them identify their strengths, their achievements. And when I can do that every day, as you do, help our clients see who they are and what they can do, their value, what they can bring to a role and organization, that gives me such a sense of joy to help people see themselves. So that's my purpose in my business. If I can wake up people every day, then, and get them to be excited about their purpose, and they go out into the world and do what they want to do. Some people, our clients, as you know, have the idea, and they have this sort of they doubt themselves and they're not sure if they're on the right path. But once you coach them, they really see themselves. And when you see yourself and you know your potential, that's when you go out there and, do what you need to do. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of excitement in seeing that happen for other people. And in an interesting way, it's interesting. Both of us kind of have a similar purpose, in the sense that my kind of theme for me is I help girls, which I think is kind of similar to the seeing piece in a bit, hear others, and be heard. And they're kind of the 3 themes that really drive what I do.
Yes, thank you. Now I've got a question for you now.
Sure.
So there's a lot of different opinions on how to find your purpose. How do you know what advice would be relevant to you?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because there are a lot of different voices out there around even whether you should be seeking a purpose. So it's not straightforward. And what's relevant for one person may be less relevant for another. So I think it does really depend on the stage of life you're at, and it also depends on people's personalities. So maybe because I don't know who's listening, I don't know what will be relevant for you, but maybe I can give you a way I think about it that might help people identify what works best for them at a particular point in time. And so the way I kind of think about it, I think about it as a spectrum. So the opinions are all the way from one end, every way along to the other. And at one end, you've got what we've been talking about, finding a clear purpose, finding one purpose throughout your life. That's kind of one extreme. And then at the other end, you've got the idea of, well, there's no one purpose, but you still do want to be purposeful in what you're doing. Okay, but do we look for one purpose? So people will fit at different points somewhere along those. Just to give you an idea of who might kind of advocate some of that, thinking about there's no one purpose, Cal Newport in his book, So Good They Can't Ignore You, is really about saying, don't feel the pressure to find a purpose. Pick what you are talented at and skilled at and just leverage that, just use that, just explore that. And that's kind of one down to that side. The other side, more towards the other side, would be Professor Mark Savickas, who is well known within the industry in the United States around his career story questions. And the idea that even from childhood, we do have a kind of almost a theme built in that, and it's not about one specific purpose maybe, but it's kind of identifying an overarching theme. And then there's everything in between. So what's going to be relevant for you? Let me just quickly go through what I see as advantages and disadvantages, and then people can decide for themselves. So let's start first with finding a purpose. So I think the advantage, if you find a purpose, the upside is that you do have that direction, and it guides your actions, and it kind of feels coherent, which is great. Love that. The danger or downside, so there's a potential downside sometimes, is you may never really be sure. So you're trying to find one thing and you're never really sure if the one thing you're looking at is actually your purpose. So for some people, that's hard. Another advantage of kind of finding a purpose is we then kind of feel like we are being fulfilled. If we've got our purpose and we're doing it, we feel fulfilled in our work and we find it meaningful, we're creating meaning, which is what we all want to do, if possible. The danger or downside is that sometimes life circumstances don't allow you to actually do the things that you want to do. You might have to take jobs like I have. It wasn't part of my purpose, but I needed it to get to somewhere else. And then kind of if we're thinking about advantages, you've got the first one, that consistency, the coherent direction. You've got the second one, basically thinking about fulfillment and meaning. And you've got a third one that is around looking at different kind of contexts for your purpose. So if you've got one kind of direction, you can look at where you could fulfill that in different contexts. So it can open up opportunities. You can do it in different ways. You can build on it. The downside sometimes is if you've got a really strong direction, you may be less adaptable or less willing to experiment. And so you may miss opportunities that might have come with more experimentation. So I just, depending on how you work, some people will see the advantages and really love that. Some people will kind of see, oh, there's a few downsides. So see if that resonates with you. The other side, thinking about no pressure to find a purpose, but thinking about being purposeful, I think the advantages are that it gives you a freedom to let things emerge. And if you're at an early stage in your career, that's kind of pretty helpful, particularly if you haven't got a lot of work experience behind you. It's a lot of pressure to kind of try and find one thing. The downside of that, though, the freedom, is you might have so many different things you want to explore, you have no idea what to prioritize. You know, I want to do all this. Where do I start? And that's hard. That's a downside. So first one, kind of thinking about freedom to explore, let it evolve. I guess the second kind of advantage with that is that we get to prioritize different things at different stages in our lives. So at different stages in our lives, different things are important. And when you're letting it evolve, you're kind of staying in the present stage and you're living and making decisions about that. I think the downside that goes with that sometimes is you may feel you don't have an overarching career story. and it feels disjointed and it doesn't feel like you're really achieving your potential. So again, it depends how people feel about that. And then finally, thirdly, if we're thinking about the advantage, I think we are more likely to test and try options if we don't feel we have to stick to a purpose. I still think we need to be purposeful about what we're testing and trying, and we can talk more about that. But I think it gives us more freedom to test and try. The downside is sometimes in testing and trying lots of different things, people often don't connect the value together. So they feel like, oh, I just tried that and then, oh, I've given up that, that's a waste. Try that, that's a waste, rather than seeing how they can connect. So out of all of that, I would say to people, you have to determine what's the most relevant advice for you. And it might change at different points in your career. So just have a think about what works best for you at the moment.
Thank you, Leonie. I definitely can relate to that. And some of our clients, pretty much, some of them would say, I really just trying to find meaning in my career. So keep it simple. Sometimes it's easier than making it complex. Thank you.
Let's think about motivation. And when you're thinking about hiring, how important do you think job motivation is when you're hiring someone?
Very important, and I think you'd agree. And we all coach our clients to get ready to answer that question. Why are you interested in the role? So your purpose in your career, tying your purpose with the role that you're applying for is critical. And sometimes the answer to that question, as you know, may make you the preferred candidate for the job and you stand out. So I definitely think it's quite important to know what your purpose, your job motivation, and to communicate it really well at an interview, because you don't want to be spending 3 to 5 minutes answering. You really want to be clear, concise, and be able to communicate with confidence your purpose statement and for that role.
Yeah, absolutely. So how can people be clearer? Because I think we know that we want to be clear, but how do they get clearer in communicating their why or their purpose?
Well, one technique is to invest in career coaching. You can reach out to myself or Leonie Stanfield, because as you said before, that sometimes you may be trying different things and you can't connect the dots. But when you speak to a coach, we see the various roles, we see the transferable skills, and we can connect the dots. And we can then come up with a really clear story for our clients to help them see clearly that where they came from to where they are now, and how they can make an impact in that role, in that organization. So 100% that we can, the client can benefit from career coaching is one way. The other way would be to ask for feedback from your network. Ask your colleagues, managers, stakeholders, what impact do you think I have made in this team or organization? What do you think are my strengths, skills? What stands out about me as a professional? Getting that feedback can also help you communicate your purpose effectively. So I think that's some of the ways that that you can actually think about how can you be more clearer, and then practicing with it can be with a coach, or can be just using Zoom, recording yourself, watching yourself. There's so many different technologies out there that you can submit a video and get it to analyze your response. So that's some of the ideas, but I'm really curious what your thoughts are on this question.
I love that we have so many different technologies available now to help us get that practice and get some feedback. And you're right, coaching can be really transformative in just helping people to have that clear message. I find there's a particular framework that I think helps people get clearer, and particularly is great for job interviews. And it's kind of the three parts. It's about being clear on three aspects. And the first one is being clear about the skills that you are bringing, or the what of the job. So if you can be clear about how your skill sets, how your knowledge, how your experience all fits with the job you're going for, if you can really communicate clearly how that's a match and why that's important, how you add value in that space, that's really helpful. So, and again, sometimes we forget to read our own resume and remind ourselves and be really clear about. So the what piece is a good piece, but it's not the only piece, because your value is more than just the skills, knowledge, and experience you bring. Your value is also in your strengths, how you do your work. So getting really clear about what sets you apart. You know, what are the particular strengths you have that make you so good at that what? And being able to weave that in. And then finally, what motivates us? We're talking about motivation is so important. What motivates us is really important. And it's probably what's motivated you to have an interest in the job. But getting clear about just some top motivators for you, some top drives, or things that have been really important to you over your career. And if you do a career timeline, to look back and see the ups and the downs, and ask yourself, why did I enjoy that so much? Why did I not enjoy it? What was going on? You'll start to see themes, and you'll start to see some motivations that may come through. So again, if it's about kind of thinking about your skills, your knowledge, experience, the what, the how, strengths, the why, what motivates you, if you can see how all of those would add value in that job, then you can kind of talk about that.
Thank you. It's I need to probably write it all down. And I hope that for the listeners, please feel free to rewind it and listen to what Leonie just said, because it's really good. I love what you said around looking back and seeing the themes, right? Because as an interviewer, when I'm actually recruiting in one of my roles, in one of my projects as a recruiter, asking the questions over the years, like, why did you leave that job? Why did you leave the other job? And you see the themes, and you can see the person's motivation. If it's because, it's too far, the location, no career development. So looking at the reasons for leaving for each role is also quite helpful to identify what motivates you. So yeah, definitely look back, see the themes, notice, consolidate all that information, and communicate your story. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. And I think that's where having that career coach, or having someone who can help you bring a lot of that together, like we both do. But I know, Leonie, you are particularly skilled at helping people with their interviews and communication. So do you want to give an example maybe of where you've helped someone communicate their purpose kind of clearly?
Yes, I have the full permission of my client to actually share their story. And when I coached this client mid last year, the client's interested in policy work. And I meet many clients over the years, Leonie, that are interested in getting a job in government as a policy officer. And you hear the question like, why are you interested in this role? And they tell me that kind of generic response: I'm interested because I'd like to serve the community, be a public servant, that make an impact. And it's quite a generic response. And so my client gave me a generic response, but in relation to the field that they are interested in environment. So the generic responses are, I care for climate change, I care for the environment, I'm passionate about policy work. So you hear this generic response and you're like, when I'm coaching the client for interview coaching, and I'm like, okay, let's use your generic response, which is good, and let's tell me your personal story. Yeah, why are you really interested in this? So when I ask the client after the coaching, because what I do is I do a mock interview and then I provide the coaching afterwards, and I asked the client, why? Tell me really, why are you interested in policy work, in environmental, the environmental field? And then the client then tells me more. And when I heard the story, it moved me so much. So the story goes something like this. When I was living in China, I lived in a small village, and I lived with the rivers, and it's a small community, rural area. And I have wonderful memories growing up in this small village with my brother, hanging out the river. Now, that was my memories from childhood. And I came back to the country, several years later. What I saw and witnessed was the river was full of rubbish.
Yeah.
And the town, the village is completely changed, and it was devastating. And the client said that I can't help people increase their salaries or help individuals, but I'm passionate about the environment, and how can and I believe that policy work can make an impact where I can support, develop right policies that's going to make an impact in community. So then individuals and communities, families can benefit from the environment, and have these keep the state of the community, the place they live in, to be clean and sustainable. So it took about 3.5 minutes to work out the true reason why. And once we worked that out, I'm like, okay, brilliant. And the client was apologizing to me. I'm so sorry. It took a long time to work it, tell you this answer. I said, that's fine. And so that's the thing, with coaching, is that the client will give you a lot of information, but how do you then help the client communicate clearly their job motivation, their purpose? So then straight after I listened to the client for talk about their response, I was then able to then quickly, within a minute, within 60 seconds, communicate back to the client why they are interested in this role.
Right.
And 1 minute, clear, concise, integrated the personal story. So I said something like this. I said, when I was living in China, I grew up in a small village in a rural area, and lots of wonderful childhood memories with my family in this community. But several years later, I came back and I saw the whole place torn down. Rivers were full of rubbish. It was not the same. It wasn't the same village that I grew up, and it was just devastating. It broke my heart to see that. So I thought I really would love to work in policy development to help write and develop policy to make an impact in communities. So then now in Australia, it's my home here, and I want to be able to make an impact in the land that I'm living on now, to help write and make decisions, informed decisions, to make an impact in the community that I'm living in here right now. So something along those lines. And the client was just like, oh, that was beautiful. It's so hard. It was just such a different way of communicating. And so as coaches, you and I help people see the themes, connect the dots, and then communicate that personal message clearly. Yes.
Yeah. That's a wonderful story, and yeah, such insights for the client in terms of valuing that personal experience and seeing how that impact as a motivator for them. has such relevance here, and being able to communicate that. That's so, yeah, so good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add today with this topic, Leonie?
No, I think I think that personal element that you're bringing in is really helpful to remember. When people don't need to hear our life stories, we need to sort the relevance out. It's our job to make it clear, to pick what's relevant and to communicate that. It's not, if we think it's their job to pick it out, then we're leaving a lot to chance. So, but that insight, getting a chance to see into someone, they don't know you. The only chance they're really getting to see you is what you're allowing them to see. So I think that's really helpful, that we're thinking about how do we help people communicate that. And first and foremost, you have to know that yourself. You have to be clearer about that yourself, and then you can work on being clearer in communicating it in particular situations. So yeah, I love that example. Thank you. I think that's a great way to finish. I would also say to people around the whole idea of purpose, don't feel pressure. So if you're feeling pressure, that's probably not going to help you. So feel and do what you need to be purposeful, to do things with purpose, but that may be continuing to persist and stay open to find one big thing, or it may be just letting go of that for a little bit and just noticing what's emerging. But whatever it is for you, yeah, being purposeful, I think, is really, really important.
Thank you, Leonie. I'd just like to add that I think it's the Dalai Lama. He said the purpose in life is to be happy.
Mm.
And for the listeners, if that's not right, my apologies, but I'm pretty sure he said that. But it might just simply be every day, just to be kind. Simple, be kind. And a wonderful question that was given to me by one of the my friends in the Buddhist community that I'm part of was that is it important to be right, or is it important to be kind? And so your purpose could simply be just be kind every day, be compassionate, or just to help somebody every day. So it can be that simple, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And often the simpler the better.
Yes. Leonie, thank you so much for your time here today. And thank you very much, everyone who stayed with me, listening to us to the final second. Much appreciated. There is another podcast coming up that I'll be releasing in a few months, so stay tuned. I appreciate your ongoing support and your time. So have a wonderful day or evening ahead of you. And if you'd like to reach out to Leonie or myself for career coaching, by all means, I'll put our contact details in the show notes. Thank you so much, Leonie.
Thank you. It's always a delight. I love chatting with you.
Thank you.